Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball, So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Where is Mike? We got Charles back, but where is Mike? Thank you, Charles. How you doing today?
Doing well, Doc. Doing well. We got a bunch of news to get to today. Of course, Women's SWAC Media Day was today. But I tell you what, there's a lot of moving and shaking going on in the HBCU world today.
I just want to say thank you. I got your official paperwork, leave of absence that you were going to work and showcase your skills and deliver paper and information about the HBCU Sports Lab associated with Prairie View A&M in the State Fair Classic, as you were doing play-by-play. Did a great job, I should say. I just want to say thanks for turning in your paperwork. I'm still looking for Mike. I don't know why he just seems to always want to turn in his paperwork late. I give him credit. He does turn the paperwork, but it's always late. I don't understand what is going on here. We need to reconfigure, rethink about how I'm working with this individual, because whatever I say just doesn't work out.
Well, that's big brother privileges. That's what happens. So.
Thanks for reminding me. Everything's okay. Episode 439, inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show in the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports, from institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, in a beautiful home at Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, Charles, you said there's a lot of news. What do you got on your mind?
Yeah, let's start off with this. Alabama A&M reaches agreement to remain part of the Magic City Classic. So today, Alabama A&M signed a 4-year agreement with the Alabama Sports Council late this afternoon to keep the Magic City Classic going at least through the 2026 season. As Roy Johnson of Alabama.com reported, the agreement signed is equal to that of one of their rivals. Magic City Classic opponent Alabama State signed earlier this year $1 million in guarantees for the years Alabama A&M will be the host school, and $300,000 for the years they will be the visitor, adding on to the $500,000 annually each school receives from the city of Birmingham. The Magic City Classic becomes the richest guaranteed paying classic in HBCU football.
It's a major statement when you can say the richest.
Yeah, it is. Very much so.
Somebody did something right. Kudos for those administrators from both institutions, particularly Alabama A&M, to really pushing and sticking to their guns of what they want to get done. And they must have got all of it, or certainly most closer to it, to sign off. So congratulations to the president, AD, and others, general counsel for that matter, and all others involved, including the board there, for getting that done. The other thing that's interesting to me we got going on, man, it's getting serious in terms of HBCU football land. Willie Slater, out as Carolina football coach from HBCUsports.com and CAU, legendary coach, associated with the HBCUs, particularly what he did at Tuskegee, kind of left there quietly as some change went around, went to Clark Atlanta. Most people thought it was a pretty good move in regards to hiring somebody of his substance to bring back the Clark Atlanta program, but it just was not to be availed. Even though a couple of games early were close, he started off 0-5, and Clark Atlanta has fired head coach Willie Slater, was dismissed from his duties effective immediately. The university announced Monday the decision came following an evaluation of CAE's football team during the 2023 season that had begun at 0-5. The university explained there was some, quote, unresolved challenges, end quote, in the program. The school explored many opportunities for change, but they had minimal success. The university said in a statement, quote, the decision was not made lightly. A great deal of time was spent in the thought and discussion with people who love the university, students, faculty, alumni, leadership, and Coach Slater, end quote, CAU said. Quote, we appreciate Coach Slater for his dedication, contribution to CAU's football program. There is no doubt that Coach Slater has a tremendous impact on our institution. We're grateful to him for his support and hard work during his tenure. According to the news release from last year, the university named Slater football coach in February 2022 before making the transition to Clark Atlanta. He spent 16 seasons at Tuskegee, as I said, so it's fascinating to hear this. When you talk about Dr. Gerald Drew, the university athletic director that recently came over there from the University of Virgin Islands, that's fascinating to kind of hear that news. Remember, the president of Clark Atlanta University, the former president at Miles College, who had a lot of success, who with his coach there that is now the athletic director at Tuskegee. So some people are drawing that inference, but it'd be interesting. But two things there. Obviously, the community made a statement, and the president is significant want to win. You know, I've been on board pushing Clark Atlanta to understand the value of this institution. They clearly know that in a lot of ways, but in doing that, thinking about reclassifying and moving to Division I FCS. There's rumblings out there about other program out of Atlanta looking at making that move, and maybe quietly there's some thoughts that Clark Atlanta is going to try to follow suit, because you know in a lot of ways with their rivals going on. Question is where they're going. It's interesting to see will there be a fight between the SWAC and MEAC. I think a lot of people are leaning MEAC, but I wouldn't be surprised if SWAC may find a way to get in that door. I've told you from a long time, Atlanta is one of the final pieces of the puzzle, whether it's MEAC and SWAC. The other crown jewel out there, obviously, is Tennessee State in regards to Nashville as it's growing. Flew in there this weekend. Getting in to the airport at Nashville is much like those that travel in Atlanta. It's crazy. And it's not because the airport is not big, it's new, large, but it's just a lot of people there. Right. Growing a lot of money in that area. Fascinating to see what that looks like. Let's turn this chapter, get into some highlights in regards to some other news you got. We might get Bryan in here and see his thoughts in terms of the dismissal of Clark Atlanta University, or his thoughts in terms of what I just said about Clark Atlanta, Miles, FCS moves, Virginia State, folks out there floating around. You know, do you want Fayetteville State? Or are you going to push for Albany State? It'll be interesting to see. And that's not to say that the CIAA and SIAC commissioners are not going to do what they need to do to sweeten their pot to keep these individuals. So try to discuss with them and put things on the table. So it's a fascinating time. We've seen this in the larger programs, but it continues the churning that we talk about conference-wise.
No doubt.
Go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, let's take a look at the SWAC football players of the week this past week. The SWAC is named Alcorn State's Aaron Allen, Noah Kiani, along with Southern's Kelby Givens and Grambling State's Tanner Rinker as its SWAC football players of the week for their impressive performance during games this past weekend. Let's take a look at Aaron Allen from Alcorn. He went 32 of 46 for 370 yards, 2 touchdowns, along with 6 carries for 36 yards against Alabama State. He led the Braves on a game-time drive in the fourth quarter to force overtime. In large part due to his efforts, the Braves were able to capture a 23-20 win over Alabama State to move to 1-1 in conference play. Southern's Kelby Givens played a vital part in the Jaguars' defensive success on Saturday night, leading the charge with 9 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss, 2.5 sacks to go with, along with 2 quarterback hurries. He has been a dominating force up front for the Jaguars this past season. Noah Kiani, he was 3 of 4 on field goals, including a 24-yard attempt to force overtime for the Alcorn State Braves. against Alabama State. He connected on the game-winning field goal in overtime, helping the Braves capture a 23-20 win over Alabama State. And Tanner Rinker was 3 of 3 on field goal attempts with Grambling State this past weekend against Prairie View. He added 2 PATs to help Grambling defeat Prairie View 35-20 on Saturday night, snapping a 5-game losing streak to the Panthers. So those were your SWAC players of the week.
Anytime when you see the players of the week, I'm going to show some love to, just talked about Tennessee State and Independent over there. I'm going to show some love out there to Tennessee State. Monroe Beard III, linebacker, 6'1", 220, junior. You talked about this earlier during the women's SWAC media event that was taking place in Humble, not Humble for those outside of Greater Houston. Those folks out there will get mad if you put the H as it's silent on Humble, Texas for that. But back to Tennessee State, as he was defensive co-players of the week, as Charles said. How do you get co-players of the week when you got 19 tackles? Check this out. Beard set the Tennessee State single-game record for tackles with 19 in the team's contest at number 22 UT Martin. Bird made 7 solo, 12 assisted stops to break the 16-year-old record. It marked his 3rd straight game with double-digit tackles this season. His 19 tackles are tied for the second most in the game nationally this season. Big-time shout-out Tennessee State and their fans, particularly, especially Monroe Beard III, linebacker, 6'1", 220, junior out of Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Think about that.
Did everything he could to keep his Tennessee Tigers in the game with their top 25 loss to UT Martin. Unfortunately for them, 20-10.
Single season Tennessee State record. This is the program of Ed Tuttle Jones, Claude Humphreys, and this young man Monroe Beard has a record for Tennessee State in terms of tackles. That's major. That's huge.
That's big time.
Yeah,
big time.
Big time.
Brian, welcome to the show, man. We're not ignoring you. We just make sure you set up. You know, you come in late. We kind of do you like that in the lab. You know what I'm saying? We trying to get you in there. I know you're feeling good. The Rattlers winning and up front and chest all out. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Doc. It's Founders Day for Florida A&M University. Happy birthday, year number 136. So Rattler Nation. So
happy Founders Day, no doubt.
Yeah, so I was out celebrating a little bit with some Rattlers, and then Doc gave me the call, and I'm like, oh man, okay. So I had to put that down and finish go. So I'm just trying to slide in the back of the room, and before the professor calls, I figure I'd move up to the front once the break intermission happens. So I appreciate the call. So
well done. Well done. Anytime the bat signal goes up, duty goes, or saying the Black Panther signal goes up, the white chair. I'm glad to see you. I'm gonna call.
I try. It was tough. Sketch and go. I didn't know if I'd make it though.
No problem. You did just what you needed to do. With that being said, HBCU news of the day that you wanted to share.
Well, I saw you. I don't know if you had. I think I'm coming in right at the point where you talked about the SWAC players of the week. So I figure I'd jump in maybe and mention the MEAC players of the week while
go
I got
right ahead.
Here.
Perfect.
Yeah. So you had North Carolina Central quarterback Davius Richard, who was the MEAC offensive player of the week, presented by Coca-Cola. I love nice little plug there. Also linebacker Jaden Flaker. Or maybe it's Flacker. I apologize if I say it wrong. Earned Defensive Player of the Week honors. Norfolk State's Grant Gaffney was the Rookie of the Week. Delaware State's Isaiah Cook and Raheem Smith earned Offensive Lineman of the Week and Specialist of the Week. And just in case anyone forgot what Richard did, he amassed 351 yards of total offense, responsible for 5 touchdowns in the overtime victory over Campbell, rushing 21 times for 86 yards and 4 touchdowns, tied the North Carolina Central game record for rushing touchdowns. He also broke the school record for career rushing touchdowns with 33. And so then, of course, he went through the air 21-34, 265, and a touchdown. What can't that young man do? It seems like he does everything. And I
Superman.
Understand. Yes. I understand why people, mark him and claim him as one of the best, if not the best, HBCU quarterback. Oh, but there might be another. But anyway,
hey, we gonna see this weekend. Well, how true it is.
It might not be who you think I'm talking about. I'll just say that.
Okay.
Yeah. On the defensive side, Jaden Flaker registered a game high 15 tackles, 11 solo in the win. You were asking, Doc, how did somebody get co-defensive player of the week with 19 tackles? Well, how many of those 19 were solos?
I think it was, what I say, 7?
7. Okay, so not to diminish 19. I mean, the fact that you were around the ball 19 times is significant, no doubt. But, I always sometimes look at, of the total tackles, how many were solo? And so when I see,
I think that is good.
Yeah, and so when I see the sophomore 6'4", 225 young man for North Carolina Central racking up 11 solos of his 15 tackles as a linebacker, that's pretty doggone impressive. So shout out to him. Mr. Gaffney up front collected 6 tackles, 1 solo, 1.5 a sack for loss against North Carolina A&T. Of course, Gaffney is of Norfolk State. Up front, Isaiah Cook received a grade of 96% on blocking assignments. We need more offensive line grades being put out there. I don't know how, obviously the MEAC gets that from the offensive line coaches, but we need that more. We need the SWAC and the CIAA and the SIC. We need more statistics on our offensive line play. Give the big fellas some love. And I
agree with you.
Yeah.
How did he only get 96% against Virginia Lynchburg? I need 100%. Oh, no, never mind. Go ahead.
See?
Wow.
The data,
like the offensive line coach.
Yeah, exactly. And then the special teams player of the week, Rakeem Smith, had 2 touchdowns on special teams in the Hornets' 48-10 victory over Virginia Lynchburg. He returned to 88 kickoff return and a 60-yard punt return, 181 all-purpose yards. Never poo-poo that, regardless of the opponent, because they put 11 people out there. And even when you put 11 people out there, somebody might just fall and get in the way. So the fact that he got 2 touchdowns is pretty doggone impressive.
Good stuff all day long. With that being said, Charles, I think we have another independent recognition out there. You want to check that one out? North Carolina A&T linebackers, first Aggie player to receive CAA honor.
Yes, I see that. BJ Turner was first North Carolina A&T linebacker. BJ Turner will be the first, as he will receive CAA honor. He was announced as co-defensive player of the week. As a result, Turner becomes the first Aggie football player to win a weekly honor from the CAA after leading the Aggies to their first victory, huge victory over Norfolk State, 28-26 thriller. Turner captured his weekly awards as one of the best defensive performances in recent A&T history.
Good stuff, man. When you talk about that, what is it with the OVC Big South and CAA Coastal, formerly known as Columbia, with these co-defensive player of the week? But, hey, I'm just saying. That being said, let me give us a shout out. We were over at the G&G Studios as the SWAC did the women's basketball preseason. They're getting into it already. So I did want to get those order finished, give you an update on that. Then we'll take our first break. We'll come back on the other side and give you some updates on the poll ranking. Man, this is a big week. I'm excited about this week in terms of poll ranking. We'll get that first, and then we'll talk about some key matchups as we get into the latter part of the show. With that being said, let's get into the preseason poll. I like to start at the bottom and rise to the top. 2023 SWAC women's basketball preseason polls. First place foes will be located as well. Number 12, Mississippi Valley State. Delta Devils, 44 points. 11 was Texas Southern, 66 points. At number 10, and that's the Texas Southern Tigers. At number 10, Florida A&M Rattlers, 79 points. At number 9, Alcorn State Braves at 119 points. And number 8, Grambling State at 128 points. Grambling State, however, had 2 first-place votes. At number 7, Bethune-Cookman with 144 points. Let's get into the top 6. Those that are going to be in the mix, as you might say. Those top 6 will be Prairie View A&M Panthers, 174 points. They got 1 first-place vote. At number 5, Alabama State had 190 points. Right ahead of them is the rival in the state of Alabama, which is number 4, Alabama A&M with 200 points. Top 3, probably could have thought about this. Number 3, Arkansas Pine Bluff Golden Lions, 216 points and 4 first-place votes. You had Southern, 245 points with 5 first-place votes. But people are not ready to let the Jackson State Tigers come down from the perch of being number 1 as they have dominated the last several years. 267 points with 11 first-place votes. That'll do it for the women's basketball preseason poll. I know it's early, but they got it out there, so I'm interested. Charles, did you want to have a quick say in that?
You know, one of the coaches was saying today how great this season is going to be because a lot of coaches did an awesome job of re-recruiting their talent. So you're going to see a lot of players coming back who were on rosters last year, and that's going to make for a lot of parity in the league, they thought. And one name I took particular note of, Zay Green, coming back for UAPB. Former McDonald's All-American, was injured last year, and you're talking about a UAPB team that already has quite a bit of talent coming back. But you talk about Jackson State, they bring some of their roster back. Tylen Bowler, preseason offensive player of the year. So I'm really looking forward to the season, looking at the women's side of the ledger.
And check us out in the morning. We're going to try to bring you some content there. We might even do live streaming. We're working through that process. So check us out. We should try to get going right around 10 o'clock. So if you have time to do your little cheat code for those that may be on office working at your desk, pull us up, check us out. We'll see if we can get you some good interviews. We'll certainly give you top 10. You know how we do it at BCSN Network. We're always around, always giving you that live content. You can't get it anywhere else other than what we do right here on the Black College Sports Network. Stick with us. We'll be right back after our first break. We'll come back on the other side, and let's get into the mid-major rankings. I want to see what y'all say. Mid-major football rankings, top 7. What you got to say about that, Charles? Right.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplify Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplify Development Services.
Nope. Nope.
You want him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
That's a pretty tight spot.
Watch this.
Of course your Buick parks itself. That's so you.
It's just up here on the right.
Of course you know where we're going. That's so you.
Kinda got a 6th sense.
And a head-up display.
They're here.
Hit the field, warm up. You brought all these players in your Buick?
Yeah.
So you.
It is.
There's a Buick that fits your life, because at the heart of every Buick SUV is you.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Test the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud, and who the ball, So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is out on assignment. I texted him. He told me he would send in his report. He said he's taking care of business. Don't worry. He's got some big business and stuff ready for us. And so I said, okay. And he said he got us next time, Charles. He said he got us first round. I said, oh, yeah, you great. No problem. A+. Let's go.
Hey, it's all good.
Oh, good. I said, you speak my language, young man. With that being said, let's get into this top 7. First thing is, we'll start with the team dropping out. This is week number 5. Dr. Cavil's inside the HBCU Huddle Report, officially, if you would, for the football top 7 poll rankings. Dropping out this week, Bowie State Bulldogs, 3-2, 2-1, had another loss this weekend, trending in the wrong direction before a big week matchup, but we'll see what that means. Receiving votes this week, Johnson C. Smith Golden Bulls, probably the surprise of the season for a lot of programs. 4-1, 3-0, undefeated, continue to get it done. Just outside of the top 7, preferably would be 8 in terms of the total strength of their rankings, if you would. Bringing us outside, also looking in, is Virginia Union Panthers, as they are 4-1, 2-1, 114 points. To let you know how strong the rankings are over there, it's fascinating. 114 points, bringing us to what would be the 10th team, third one outside of the top 7, with Bowie State Bulldogs sitting at 3-2, 2-1, 111 points. As I said, they lost their last matchup, which dropped them out of the top 7 as they were there just last week. Let's get into the big boys with the top 7 to see those that are for real and playing some good football this season. At number 7, Allen Yellow Jackets, 4-1, 2-1. They took their first loss of the season, however. They did drop 3 spots with that loss, 131 points, but they are still in the top 7. Bringing us to number 6. Fort Valley State Wildcats got a big win this past weekend, getting it done against those Yellow Jackets. 4-1 for them, 4-0 in the conference race over there in the SIAC, and got a big win to keep their trajectory going up with 145 points. They were not ranked last weekend, but they're there now. At number 5, Tuskegee Golden Tigers, 4-1, 3-0 in the SIAC, 136 points. They lost last week, but it was out of conference. It was a homecoming game. Hosted by Alabama A&M, the Bulldogs. They were ranked 3 and dropped 2 spots after that tough loss. Bringing us to number 4, West Virginia State Yellow Jackets, independent program, representing for those independent programs out there, having one of their best seasons, 4-1, 4-0 in the conference play. They have a big matchup, and we'll talk about that in the next segment to give them some love in terms of what they're doing this season with 140 points. They were ranked 7. So they're on their way up as they continue to get it done, up 3 slots this week in week 5. Bringing us to number 3, Miles Golden Bears, 4-1, 2-1. No first place votes, but they got a chance to change that this week. We'll also talk about that in Thursday segments, as they will be a top 3 matchup. Man, this is a big time week for some HBCU football, and they are the ones that start our top matchups, because we have 5 of them this week, 4 of them particularly with all ranked teams. Let's talk about it. 163 points. They move up 3 slots with their impressive win, and all they do is win. Golden Bears, their lone loss is a SWAC member, Pine Bluff, on the road, where they were this close, literally 3 yards away to getting it done in terms of the end zone, 2 yards away for a first down. Couldn't quite get it done in that matchup. Credit to the Golden Lions. With that being said, number 2, Virginia State Trojan, another surprise to some degree, probably not as much, obviously, as Johnson C. Smith out of the CIAA with them, but Dr. Henry Fraser III, boy, he's in his books, and he is turning on the lectures. 5-0, 3-0 as he continues to get it done in the conference race. 2 first place votes, 182 points. They remain in number 2, and they are set up for a big matchup, top 10 matchup, basically, as you see. We'll see what that looks like. As again, we'll talk about that Thursday. Virginia State traveling to Bowie State Bulldogs. Henry Frazier's going home. It should be interesting to see what that looks like. Number 1, Benedict Tigers, 5-0, 3-0, 7 first place votes, 187 points. Quietly, is there such a thing? The team that won the mid-major championship, they just hold on, get it done. Nobody looking around, just beat up on everyone. But they have a chance to really make a major statement, or will it be the Golden Bears? As they go on the road, number 1 goes on the road to face the number 3 in Fairfield, Alabama. You talking about big-time matchup in the mid-major division. If you can't get excited about this, man, I can't do nothing for you. That's on you. With that being said, let's talk about the poll rankings. We're going to give it to our guest first. To Bryan. Charles, we're going to let you back it up and do your thing. I saw you shaking and grooving in your head, so I think some things you like, some things you have some questions about. We'll find out. But first, let's go to Bryan to see if he's going to continue to hold the mic, or will he get that F squared in the class today, especially being late. I might let him slide. What you got to say, Bryan?
I'm a little shocked that Virginia Union is not in the top 7. You know, that to me, that's the first standout. I mean, but okay, I guess maybe their win wasn't as impressive for the vote. But it is hard, though. What I really like about the poll, I see a lot of zeros or -1s.
Yeah.
That is impressive, you know, and so it speaks to how really competitive. You got 5 teams in the SIC that haven't lost. You got at least 3 in the CIAA, maybe 2 or 3, maybe 2 or 3, whatever. But just the fact that you have such a nice collection of teams playing well, and now the last 5 weeks are going to be fun every week leading up to the CIAA and the SIC championships. I mean, man, are they going to be exciting? So, I'm excited about the 1 versus 3 matchup. It is what it's going to be. And but I'm just trying to figure out, you know, why Benedict isn't, you know, unanimous. What has Benedict done to not impress the 2 voters who voted for Virginia State? All they've done is they 1 touchdown. One touchdown and 2 field goals in 5 games. Is this Benedict team better than last year? Possibly. At least in the first half of the year, it's looking that way. I'm just saying, what else does Benedict have to do? Maybe we'll find out this week.
It might be some of that, as Mike would say, since he's out, we're gonna give him a shout out. Charles echoes it as well. He said it might be a little bit of that East I'm just saying. Before I go to Charles, I do got to ask you a question. I think you asked a valid question, but this is what we need to know. As we do it over here, you know, when you make a statement, you got to support it with a reference. So in this case, we're in class. You might have to do the reference, but if you're going to put Virginia Union in the top 7, that means somebody has to go out of the top 7. Who are you pushing out of the top 7?
Allen
University. Allen. And it wasn't by much. It was, you know, by a couple of votes. And then let me ask this. I
like this. Let me follow up real quick before you ask that, because I want to get your question in. How far do you have them falling out? Do you have them above or below Johnson C. Smith, since they're the first one out?
I have them above Johnson C. Smith, and I have a team that's not even in the top 10 sitting in the top 10, and that's the defending CIAA champs. I mean, all they did was lose 1 game to Virginia Union.
That's good.
And they gone. We 86th them out the top 10. I'm just like, okay. But that just says there's legitimately 11, by my count, 11 real strong teams. So, yeah, somebody has to be on the outside looking in. And on your poll, it's Fayetteville State.
But I thought Fayetteville State
they just had a 1, but they're at 11.
Okay.
They're at 11. They had an early loss, Charles, and that's probably why you kind of put them out of your mind, because they had an early loss and they're fighting back into the polls because of that early loss. And what's unique about the poll rankings, it is week to week. So, you know, depending on where you start and how early you lost, it makes it harder to get back up, particularly in the mid-major, to your point, Bryan. It's just how many tough teams are up there. But I feel you on that. I think you make a plausible argument. So with that case, I give you an A-. Charles Bishop, what do you say about the top 7?
I'm gonna have to echo Bryan on this because I took a look at the Virginia Union, their dominance this past weekend. It was St. Augustine, but I mean 47-7. That was impressive to me. They only have one loss on the ledger. If I am gonna drop somebody out, I mean Allen's been the Cinderella, but they got hammered pretty well. They got their wake up call this past weekend, 49-21. So
he knew the glass and broke it.
I really wanted to get Fort Valley on top of Tuskegee, because Tuskegee, for all the hype going into that game against Alabama A&M, they got Dusty Rhodes off the top rope this weekend. Big elbow this weekend. So I was kind of, that's just for you, AD Drew. So I had to I had to take a look at that, but I can go with them at 5, and I'll Fort Valley at 6 for now. But yeah, they've been kind of getting by the skin of their teeth in the SIAC, and then their wake up call came against a SWAC team this past weekend. So,
boy, you making some statements, and I like what you have to say. Again, you drop out. Who do you jump in there?
Virginia Union.
You jumped in Virginia Union as well. You did say you agreed with me. I'll say this, Charles. You've taken my class before. You're a regular. So with that being said, the standard is higher. So you don't get the first time exercise A-. You get a B+. We'll be right back after this second break. We'll come back on the other side and talk about some of these matchups as I continue to give out these grades for the rest of the show. That includes lab listeners. Y'all come with some funk. I'm going to put the F squared in your life. If not, bring it. You can get the A+, you can get the A-, A, B+, B-. Keep up. You get to C. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
So we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
As technology continues to bring changes to the world of education, it's time we also reimagine teacher professional development. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all learning that can only be accessed at a specific time and place. The Stride PD Center is an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that allow educators to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. The best professional development plans are those that include a level of flexibility and choice for educators. Whether you're a teacher, school, or district, visit us today to take charge of your learning.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Test the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
You know me, I will love it. Dr. Mills inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Boy, you should see some of those conversations in the backside during the break. Boy, they get down. With that being said, it's time to get into some of these games of the week. We're going to go into the Classic. So some question here, we'll get into that, but that's just our format. Mid-major Classic game of the week, independent mid-major division game of the week. Then we're going to sneak in a bonus one for a major division game of the week out of the MEAC to get you some stuff going there in terms of what that looks like. We'll save our SIAC, CIAA top matchups for Thursday. We'll also get into those top matchups in terms of the MEAC. SWAC has a lot of going on right there, and we even have one of those top matchups that happen to be a classic. In the SWAC alone, there are 3 matchups that feature top 10 teams in the rankings. If you look at it, won't tell you the order or where they fit. We'll save that to the next segment, but I'm excited about that. With that being said, let's get into it, gentlemen. We in Birmingham, Alabama, Legion Field, Morehouse Tuskegee Classic, SIAC game, Saturday, October 7th, 2:00 p.m. You have number 3 Tuskegee Golden Tigers. They continue to push the envelope and get it done. As we just talked about their ranking, and Tuskegee is actually number 5, I should say, as they are rolling. Just taking their first loss of the season, 4-1, 3-0 in the race, but they face up against the rival Morehouse Maroon Tigers, who are just inside the top 30 when you look at all Division II and Division I programs. 0-5, shouldn't be matchup. People are questioning whether that coach would make it through the season, particularly after we just heard about Clark Atlanta Coach Slater. So a lot of things troubling for the Maroon Tigers in terms of what that looks like. But with that being said, go ahead, Brian. What are your thoughts in terms of that matchup?
Well, look, Morehouse is still searching for win number 1. And I trust AD when he talks about all things regarding Tuskegee and things surrounding Alabama and Southern Georgia. So him sharing that this game has sort of lost a little bit of its excitement because of the move to Birmingham is interesting. I mean, I believe this is the oldest matchup among HBCU, or is it the oldest classic? Something like that. The Morehouse.
Yeah, it's one of them.
It's one of them, right? Over 100-something years old. So I don't know if this is the week that Morehouse gets a win. I've heard some things about Tuskegee having some injuries. Let's see how they walk into this Morehouse game. Is Tuskegee going to get back to looking impressive, or are they going to sort of sleepwalk and find themselves giving Morehouse their first win?
No doubt. Good stuff. Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of matchup?
I got a 5-0 team taking on an 0-5 team. I don't know if I can just go in depth into that. Birmingham, Tuskegee. They gonna hang a number on Morehouse this weekend.
They should.
They gonna run it back to Atlanta, Charles.
Yeah, quickly. Yeah,
to the Maroon Tigers.
Yeah,
they even show up.
They can show up. It's fun to show up, but
there ain't gonna be a lot of clapping though. Let's move on to the independent.
The state of Atlanta football. The state of Atlanta football. That ain't what you want right now.
The state of Atlanta football. That's great.
Oh, we got a new one. The state of Atlanta football. HBCU independent programs, non-conference mid-major division game of the week. We're going to go to an intriguing matchup in a lot of ways. Number 4, West Virginia State Yellow Jackets sit at 4-1, and they're 4-0 in the conference race. They go on the road. South Euclid, Ohio, Muller Field, independent matchup, conference game in the MEAC. They take on Notre Dame, Ohio Falcons that are just 3-2, 2-2. But if you know anything about the Falcons program there, they are one of the top programs in that conference. So whether they're playing that way right now, it's going to be a tough matchup at home. And you're talking about being able to make a statement for the Yellow Jackets. They can do that this weekend. Charles, what do you say about this matchup?
Yeah, West Virginia State, they've been playing some tremendous ball this past season. Have a tremendous running back who's one of the top running backs in the country. But when you take a look at this matchup, Notre Dame has had a time with them. You take a look at the last 9 matchups; they are 8-1 versus West Virginia State, and I don't think anything changes this weekend. Especially a trip on the road for the Yellow Jackets. Looks like the Falcons. I think they'll get the win in this
one. Bryan, what are your thoughts over here?
Man, it's hard for me to root against a school named Notre Dame, but I think this might be the week that I'll actually be pulling for the Yellow Jackets in the Mountain East. Just the fact that Coach Pennington over there at West Virginia State. I mean, they've been a fun team to pay attention to. They put up a lot of numbers, and I'm not gonna go so far as to say as they found the defense, but they found a way to score last or get timely stops. And it's helping them right now. It's big time to be the Mountain East. I mean, that's a conference where you play 11 game schedule, 8-9 conference games. This is huge for them. So it's a great start for West Virginia State. I'd love to see if they could pull off the victory and finish up 5 or at least get to 5-0 in conference play.
Good stuff. I got a bonus game. It's out of the MEAC. It's one of those games that's weird because there's not a lot of wins there, but it's a program, Morgan State. They really started off out and looked like they were going to get an FBS win. Has the Tides changed that much? This team struggling. I know there's some issues on offense. Defense plays really well. You could even argue maybe a championship defense. The other thing that's intriguing about this matchup is MEAC Coastal Athletic Association. If you follow that, there are several matchups between the MEAC and the Colonial. And obviously many people came in and talked about that. But right now, the MEAC leads that series with 5 wins to 4, 6-4. I'll give you the exact count there. But fascinating when you talk about this. This is back at home, Baltimore, Maryland, Hughes Stadium. Can Morgan State turn the tide, get this win, not only for themselves as they get prepared, the conference race to kind of turn the chapter, or will you see the Coastal kind of do what many people thought they were supposed to do to really get it done in terms of the CAA and MEAC matchups? Bryan, what are your thoughts here?
Well, the CAA, they still have to claim Stony Brook. So I guess, that this one should go in favor of the MEAC. And this is what I'm going to tell everybody to pump the brakes on. Just because the MEAC has all these wins over the CAA, at some point, we got to – and I know the CAA is a highly rated conference, top 8 in FCS and all that. But just because you beat up on the mid and lower tier teams in the conference does not mean your conference is superior to, let's say, the SWAC. I'm just saying, let's pump the brakes. Don't get too excited, and hopefully.
Oh,
and you're gonna get that hate mail. Welcome to the SWAC family officially, Bryan. And you got on your fat SWAC hat. I love it. But you finna get some
SWAC. We SWAC. I'm SWAC. We SWAC now. I'm SWAC. We SWAC. So there it is.
Wow. So wait a second.
I love it.
So I'm curious now. You may be curious about it. This Campbell team that North Carolina Central knocked off this past weekend. Where would they be if they magically were in the SWAC?
I honestly feel like Campbell would be probably better than 8 teams in the SWAC. 8 better than 8 teams, I believe.
Pretty good.
And I think the same way North Carolina Central. North Carolina Central will probably be better than 8 teams in the SWAC.
Yeah, this year's version. Yeah.
Pretty good. I agree with that. I mean, they're fighting at the top in the rankings, so a lot of top there. We'll get to it because Bryan has rankings. We'll share that later if he wants to put it out there. But in the next segment, we'll get his poll rankings as he is a voter in the poll officials. Retired from voting. We're going to see if we can get him back in there. With that being said, Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of this matchup between Stony Brook and Morgan State?
Yeah, I expect for Morgan State to get the W. I want to see that Morgan State that we kind of saw the first 2-3 weeks, that kind of scrappy, fight you to the end, Morgan State, and hopefully they, kind of get themselves geared up for MEAC play and continue the MEAC dominance over the CAA.
No doubt about it. I like it. Let's get into our next break. We'll come back on the other side and give you the major division matchups, HBCU football program this week. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit HBCUPrideJoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter. Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, because he gon' teach a lesson.
I'll say it.
Dr. Liz inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Another break, boy. Great dialogue. Talk about FAMU.
Charles trying to get me in trouble. He trying to get me in trouble with because that's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna insert my foot wider into mouth in a second.
That
You
can't
say it
happen.
for OG Strike Zone. You always do it there anyway. They all looking for you.
Oh man, I was waiting
we
on
saying
this
that.
matchup. Okay, all right.
Check out OG Strike Zone with Brian leading it amongst the other stars as they get it done. Great show there. Really getting in and giving you information about FAMU athletics, man. Fascinating show. But let's get into it this week. Major division top 7, week number 5. We have teams dropping out this week in terms of the poll rankings. Dropping out this week, the Prairie View A&M Panthers, 2-3. 2-1 overall as they had a tough loss in the State Fair Classic. Also dropping out this week is Morgan State Bears, 1-3 this week. Getting to those receiving votes, just those 3 teams outside of the top 10, we'll give you those. With Howard Bison, 2-2 on the season. If you notice, they are just outside, hadn't played a conference game, 164 points. Prairie View with their tough loss, they're still outside of the top 7, but they're still receiving votes in terms of the top 10. Prairie View and Panthers sit at 2-3, 2-1 with 150 points. Also outside of the top 7, if you would, are the Alcorn State Braves. They got a big overtime win, field goal there. On the road, the Braves, Alcorn State Braves, 2-3, 1-1 on the season, are getting it done. Those are the teams receiving votes just outside of the top 7. Let me get your top 7 here. You see that with Howard, Bison, Prairie View, and Alcorn State. Getting in the top 7, 2 teams jump back in. The first one being number 7, Alabama A&M Bulldogs, sitting at 3-2, 1-1, 174 points. They were not ranked, back in the mix at number 6. Southern Jaguars, 2-2. They were open last weekend, but they have a big matchup this week with the top-ranked team. We'll tell you what that looks like shortly. 2-0 on the conference at 184. Not ranked last weekend, but up at the top of the conference with Grambling, sitting at 2-0 in the Western Division. Bringing us to number 5, none other than those Grambling State Tigers, 3-2, 2-0. I know it's early talk, but the Bayou Classic folks, they get a little excited. In terms of being in the mix, they are already talking about we back in the business again about the class. 187 points, moving up 2 spots. Grambling State Tigers, the Demons of the Panthers, who had won 5 straight games. Grambling State says they're in the mix and they're ready to get it on. We'll see. It's a long season out there. Bringing us to number 4, Jackson State Tigers sit at 3-2, 1-1. They move up a slot, even though they didn't play because some other teams dropping out of the top 5. 195 points total gets them at number 4. Bringing us to number 3, the Hampton Pirates, 3-1, 1-0 in the conference race. Check this out. 2 first-place votes 219 points. They were previously ranked 4. They're moving up to number 3. So that means 3 people have ranked the Hampton Pirates number 1 in their poll ranking. I wonder who that. At number 2, North Carolina Central Eagles sit at 4-1. Had a huge come from behind win, getting it done in overtime. They lose the first place vote, maybe because of that game there. They're sitting at 5 first place votes, 243 points, but they still remain at number 2. Bringing us to number 1. The Florida A&M Rattlers sit at 4-1, 3-0 in the conference race. They also lost the first place vote, 244 points, if you would. They remain number 1. Charles, since Brian's out here striking and just getting all excited, I'm going to go to you first. We're going to let him rest, take his time. He's just too much enjoying the fact that the FAMU Rattlers are number 1. Charles, what are your thoughts on the topic?
The FAMU Rattlers are number 1 after this past weekend against Valley? Wait just a second. Davis Richard done put on his Superman cape and done MEAC Player of the Week, and we can't reward him with the number 1 ranking? What is this? Wow. Okay, Doc. Well, all right. Well,
it's just a point difference. The tie the first place votes is really close.
I know, but when the fans look at it, they see FAMU on top of North Carolina Central. You know, the fighting.
Look at the producers. They making sure that you know that FAMU's number 1.
The Fighting Joshes will not like this whatsoever. So I tell you what. But you know what? Kudos to and watch this. I said this. Grambling doesn't stay down for very long. Watch Grambling through the course of this season. Very impressed with them this past weekend. This is a team. They are salty on defense. They got a pass rusher, Sunday out of Anderson. They got great, competent quarterback play out of Miles Crawley. They're getting more out of him than I expect from Miles Crawley. And then they can run the football. And these things kind of snowball. A win like that last week over Prairie View, which is a good football team, they effectively held Prairie View's rushing attack under 100 yards. Prairie View got a huge 54-yard run from Connor Wishon. That really tipped them over 100 yards, but they did a great job of controlling Prairie View's run game last week. So that's a team to kind of keep an eye on. This is a huge game this weekend in Lorman. Oh, my goodness. The homecoming, Alcorn, and you brought the G-Men in? Okay. All right. Let's see what that looks like.
Top 10 matchup, as you speak about it, you have number 5 going on the road as they move up the poll. Ascending at number 10, Alcorn State, one of our first top 10 matchups of the SWAC this weekend. If you're a SWAC fan, HBCU fan, much like I told you about the SIC in terms of what those top rankings, you have 3 top 10 rankings that you got to see, and they are huge in terms of standing. Charles has led you with one of them. With that being said, Brian, what are your thoughts in terms of the top 7 poll rankings in week number 5?
Well, I'm gonna say with full disclosure, and if you listen to Sunday's show, you heard me talk this out live, put it on wax. I did not have Florida A&M University ranked number 1, Charles, just so you know. I did not have
Central either.
I did not have North Carolina Central ranked number 1.
He said,
I had Hampton.
That's fair.
You know, I just when I went and I had to go back and look at the data, and you know, we like to look at the data points, and honestly, there are very minute differences between just over the course of 5 games now, not just what they did last week or whatever, between A&M, Central, and Hampton, right? But when I looked at it and looked at things such as scoring offense, scoring defense, total offense, total defense. And me, I like to kind of look at how those teams have done against the spread. I like to see what teams have done against expectation, right? And it came down to a Hampton FAMU with North Carolina Central just right below. And so I said, you know what? After last week, what I saw, now that is when I went to last week. I couldn't reward FAMU for being number one after what they did against Valley. Couldn't do it. But Hampton, though, on the road, first game in the CAA. Now, who knows? You know, some people have said Richmond ain't nothing. Okay, well, you know, we'll find out. But I think Hampton is a legit. I've seen it. They look the part. And as I was talking earlier about Davius Richard. Watch out for Chris Zealous.
Yeah.
Chris Zealous, that name, remember the name, the next 5 weeks, if he continues doing what he's doing and Hampton ascends up the rankings or ascends up the standings in the CAA, it'll be because of him. And that is a name that I would hope, even though they're not in an HBCU conference, Hampton is still an HBCU. I would hope that people will consider and think about him and Hampton as we move forward.
No point. I think you make a great point. Great arguments, both of y'all, in terms of your concerns with FAMU being ranked. It is a week-to-week ranking. And so I can see, because it's week-to-week, if you think a team falls below that and that's how you vote, I can certainly understand that. So with that case, I'm not going to bring the hammer. I think you've made judicial comments in regards to that. I will say this. You often see, in terms of voters' eyes, for those that did vote FAMU to remain number one in their rankings, and somebody obviously dropped Central in the space where they even below 3 to get that 1 point differential for people to understand that, how that all calculates out. Oftentimes you'll see where even a number one team, based on where they start and what people think, if you go on the road and you lose a tough game like that, people will be like, hey, that's just conference play. Sometimes you have that. So just to give the other side, I'll share a little bit with that. With that, let's get into the break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll get into some of the top matchups. We'll do a classic game of the week and get into the independent as well. We'll even have one surprise matchup we'll get to you in terms of what that looks like. With that being said, stick with us. We'll be right back after this last break.
You see, Head & Shoulders has scalp shield technology, protects against flakes even between washes. It's never not working.
Kind of like us. We're never not working. Number 15?
That's my rub.
Ooh, nice.
Never not working.
Never, ever, never, ever not working.
Welcome, everybody, to Juneau, Alaska.
I don't like this one.
Me neither.
Let's get out of here.
Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders scalp shield technology.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Read them words.
Yeah.
Dr. Ville's inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Let's get into our matchups of the week. Get in here some discussion on the top poll rankings. They were asking, where's Tennessee State? Just outside of that top 10, if you would, in terms of the total over ranking. We'll get into that a little bit. I like the discussion. With that being said, we're going to get into another top 10 matchup. This one actually is a top 7. HBCU Classic Major Division Game of the Week, and it has impact on the Eastern Division. Mobile, Alabama People's Stadium for the second year in a row. Gulf Coast Challenge, Saturday, October 7 at 3 o'clock p.m. ESPN Plus, you will see number 4, Jackson State Tigers sitting at 3-2, 1-1 after the open week. They are versus number 7 Alabama A&M Bulldogs that sit at 3-2, 1-1 in terms of this matchup. Very intriguing in terms of these teams. Neither one of them can afford the second loss in the division. Even more so Jackson State, because they actually lost their first game to FAMU. Alabama A&M may have a little more room because they haven't faced FAMU yet, but I don't know if FAMU is going to lose more than one game. They might do the first one this weekend. We'll see. With that being said, Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of this classic matchup in Mobile, Alabama?
Jackson State special teams concerns me, honestly. And then the question marks around the health of their field goal kicker. I think that's something that I keep in the back of my mind. And then the question for me now becomes, which Jason Brown do I get? Do I get South Carolina State Jason Brown, or do I get Jason Brown against Bethune-Cookman? So consistent play at quarterback is going to be huge, I think, for Jackson State in this one. This is a game on the road, of course. I think road games sometimes for Jackson State, they get offset because they travel so well. But another Jekyll and Hyde sort of something. Which Jackson State defense do I get? In the 3 wins, they've been playing lights out to get after the quarterback. And the couple of losses there, the defense was nowhere to be seen. So if I get the good Jackson State team, it should be an easy W. If I get the so-so, it could be a long night in Mobile.
Sounds like Charles got a little spoiled in terms of his quarterback play. Welcome to the rest of the FCS.
Ooh, did I? Oh, did I?
Everybody just well, we see now he's just a little bit better than that.
Yeah, buddy.
With that being said, I don't want to shout him out too much because some of these folks get mad when you talk about them folks since they moved.
Let them be mad.
But I'm fine with it. Just get into it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
They can be mad.
I am. I'm Dean. I'm tell Dean. I signed the paperwork. I won't sign.
All right. Exactly.
So, see what you get. Brian, with that said, what do you think about this matchup? Obviously, King of the Hill in a lot of different ways. Literally, in those parts, y'all like to talk about the Hill, but we'll talk about that later because people may argue that. But with that being said, these are teams that are trying to hope that things don't work out in terms of FAMU sitting at the King of the Hill, particularly in the Eastern Division. What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
One, can Alabama A&M prevent Irv Mulligan from having 160-plus yard play? Because I feel like he's got at least one in him, and if you give him 2, over. So it's like that's what I'm looking on. I don't, if there was a prop that said how many 60-yard-plus plays will Irv Mulligan had, honestly, I'd set the line at 1.5, and then dare you to bet under. That's because I really feel like that kid may break off at least 2, and if he gets 2, Jackson State's gonna win. But I'm not gonna buy into the Quincy Casey, former Jackson State quarterback hype. I'm not gonna do that. But I will say I'm interested to see if Quincy Casey has another good game because he's starting to look like the quarterback that many people thought he could be and was capable of being. So now he gets a test. Now he gets a chance to do it where this game matters. I don't know if those other 3 wins by Alabama A&M really matter. Go look at them. It's like who they beat. They don't really matter. Yeah, you got 3 wins. Okay, great. Now you're 3-2. Here's where it matters for Alabama A&M at this point, and this is that stretch. This is the first of 4 weeks where if Alabama A&M is real, then they better be real these next 4 weeks.
Good stuff. It sounds like a lot of this happens to be the quarterback play for both teams, which quarterback shows up and is able to show which side they want to be on in regards to that quarterback play. Great analysis there. Let's go into our independent game of the week. Brian, I'm going to show you some love with those Hampton Pirates that you said are number 1 in the rankings. Well, we're going to give you a chance to talk about it and maybe tell us a little more about that. They get a chance to make a statement as well and continue their undefeated streak in the CIAA. Hampton, Virginia, Armstrong Stadium, so they're at home. They're hosting Camels, 2-2, 1-2, that fell to 2-2 after going on the road and losing to North Carolina Central. Tough matchup, had to come from behind. But we kind of seen that with Campbell, where they had these halves, if you would, where they put up a bunch of points, and then they have some halves where not so much. Well, they're at number 3 coming off this week. The Hampton Pirates, 3-1, 1-0 in the CAA Coastal Athletic Association, formerly known as the Colonial, but you got your Pirates. I want to know, what are your thoughts in terms of this matchup? The team that you see as the number one HBCU program this week, week number 5, that is, I understand, in terms of HBCU football, major division.
I really feel like, and I don't know if it'll go overtime, but I really feel like this game is going to mirror what we just saw between Campbell and North Carolina Central.
Yeah.
Because now, I don't know if Hampton wants to. Now, look, they've proven that they can come back. They did it to Howard. So they've proven that they can come back from a multi-touchdown deficit. But I don't know if you want to do that and allow that to happen to Campbell after what they just went through at North Carolina Central. So this is that spot where, you know, Hampton gets an opportunity to really put their foot down on a CAA opponent that many people have highly regarded. I mean, Campbell had the number 1 recruiting class and all this hype behind them. Well, here's Hampton's opportunity now. So hopefully Pirate Nation, whatever they call themselves, the Pirates, pull up in their boats on the bay and they storm the field and they really represent, you know, put the wine and cheese down and get to the ballpark early and be loud and watch this team. This team may start to look like one of them old Joe Taylor teams from back in the late 90s and early 2000s. Or no, that was the 90s. That was all the 90s pretty much, right? Yeah, so it'll be interesting to watch and see. So I'm sort of excited to see what Hampton. I got some cousins and family that went to Hampton. They almost sold me. I went on the recruiting visit. It was my number 2 choice. You know, I saw the beautiful things that Hampton has to offer, and then I got to Florida, and then it was sold. That was it. But Hampton was like number 2 on the list.
Hampton got a lot of beautiful things.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Charles, don't get in trouble. Go ahead and talk about this matchup first.
Well, I think Bryan touched on it a little bit earlier.
I know you're talking about the beautiful sailboats out there.
Of course.
That's it, the sailboat. And the view of the bay.
The view of the bay, of course. And the sailboats, of course. But, I mean, you take a look at this Hampton football team. I was impressed last week. Almost 500 yards of total offense. And Bryan, you touched on it. The play of Chris Vazelis. I mean, he has really taken them to another level when you take a look at what they're able to do offensively. And then there's another name that to keep an eye on, because every week I keep checking the stats with Hampton. And Elijah Burks is another one of those hard running guys who goes for over 100 yards every week. So the question becomes for me, can Chris Vazelis outplay Hodge Malik Williams? I'm going to take Hampton at home on this one. I think there's some hangover effect from what Davis Richard did to Campbell last week.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Great analysis. Want to set this up. Check this out, Brian Charles, in terms of Thursday. Think about the matchups we have, and we'll discuss on the show. SIAC is number 2, Virginia State versus number 10, Bowie State. That's in the CIAA. CIAA game of the week. SIAC matchup, we told you a little bit about what that will look like. We'll talk and break down the SIAC matchup, which is a top 3 matchup. Number 1 in the mid-major goes on the road and faces number 3, Miles Golden Bears. SIAC matchup of the week. Another top 10 matchup features, which is a SWAC major division game of the week. It features number 1 on the road at number 6, Southern Jaguars this weekend. Major matchup. You also have, in terms of a bonus major division game of the week that we'll discuss, number 5, the Grambling State Tigers on the road at number 10, Alcorn State Braves, in terms of our bonus SWAC match of the week. We already talked about today the Classic, which was a top 5 matchup, was number 2, Jackson State Tigers versus number 7, Alabama A&M Bulldogs. So that means you have 5 top 10 matchups in HBCU football this weekend. You also have the fact we talked about number 3, Hampton, that you voted as number 1, Bryan. We talked about that matchup at home. taking on a team. And then obviously you have number 2, North Carolina Central in the major division going on the road at Phoenix. So you got major matchups with 5 of those matchups featuring top 10 matchups. You talking about SIDs and you got a chance to get out there. You got folks doing these poll rankings. You can decide which one you like, don't like, whatever. But as you're marketing and you want to get this stuff, because Brian, you talk about some attendance. We've seen some great attendance, maybe some attendance not so great. You talk about matchups. Obviously, you already have in the culture games that create the natural matchup. But if you start to add the rankings, like you see these quote unquote Power 5 programs do when they look at the matchups, it's something you understand about marketing the brand and marketing matchups. Get out there and start taking these top 5 matchups. Again, I don't care what poll rankings you want. Obviously, I'm going to push for mine, but you can use any of them. Put that out there so your fans understand the matchups that are coming into your stadium and drive the fan interest. So I wanted to kind of close with that. We'll talk about it a little more. With that being said, Brian, before I close, I want to say thank you. Want to hear your thoughts, and then I'm going to talk about Charles. I want him to give his thoughts in terms of what we're going to be able to showcase on Thursday about some of these great matchups.
I think they are. This is that point in the season. This is why I like October. I love October for this time of year because these kind of matchups, and we have some good football, some good teams. The schedulers did a great job in kind of, setting up the schedule, and I'm really excited. I'm probably, I hate to say it, maybe just because of the stress, I'm more excited about the stuff in the SIC. I'm probably more nervous than I am with the stuff in the SWAC. Not nervous, but I'm gonna get messed with for that. But anyway, I'm more excited, than I am. But I'm looking forward to seeing what happens on Saturday.
Oh, I thought about this today, Doc. Is it possible that Southern could lose to Jackson State and FAMU and Mumford? When is the last time that's ever happened? We have to go back in the history books. I'm curious. I kind of thought about that today. That's what's on the line this weekend when you talk about FAMU and Southern. Benedict and Miles. Oh my goodness, I'm so looking forward to this game. This is your first put up or shut up weekend. So this is a lot of fun this weekend.
Yeah, and that matchup is going to be on HBCU Go. That Southern matchup is on ESPNU, and the Grambling State Alcorn matchup is on ESPN Plus. So you'll be able to see. Woo! You'll be able to see. Yes, indeed, boy. I tell you, you'll be able to see most of these matchups. Also, make sure you tune in to the sport networks as we cover our HBCU live streaming. The only place you get these live streaming events. Make sure you check us out. We'll give you more information on Thursday of what games to watch. We also do that during the week. For those that want to get in and see some volleyball matchups, you can catch them right here on the Black College Sports Network. Beyond what we do with our showcases and discussing these matchups every week in regards to Tuesday and Thursday for us. But ONG strikes on with Brian and his team. They'll be doing that tomorrow. Check them out. And then on Saturday, you got Carlos Brown as he continues to give you some inside thoughts on Southern and the rest of the SWAC. And then you close out your week or start your week, whichever way you do it and see it. Boy, I get set up. I have everything done around the house so I can sit down and make sure I'm listening to the SportsWrap on Sunday because this sets me up for the week. It's perfectly laid out right here on the Black College Sports Network, among some other things, as you look at the game time where we do some live events during the week as well. Thank you for listening inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop, along with Bryan Fulford. Refuse to call him my guest. He's part of the team. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday. Catch us right here at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. We look forward to Thursday as we get it going and talk about some of these tremendous top 10 matchups. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. It's DrKenyattacavil. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram is Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. One of the greatest weekends of HBCU sports football in a long, long time. Charles kind of put it out there. Get us some other of these notes that are key to talk about why is this week so special. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles.
Of course.
Bryan.
Lecture.
Dismiss.